Welcome, my friends. I'm Larry, and I want to take you with me to a magical journey that will take you on a relaxing adventure to the land of dreams. As you settle into your cozy bed, take a deep breath and let go of any worries or thoughts that may be lingering in your mind. Imagine yourself lying on a soft, fluffy cloud, floating gently through the sky. The sun is setting in the distance, casting a warm golden glow all around you. You feel safe and relaxed. As you continue to breathe deeply, you notice that the clouds below you are taking on different shapes and colors. You see a fluffy white sheep, a pink heart, a green tree, and a bluebird, all forming and dissolving before your eyes. As you watch the clouds, you feel yourself becoming more and more relaxed. You feel your body sinking deeper and deeper into the bed, as if it were made of clouds itself. You feel your muscles loosening, your breath slowing down, and your mind becoming calm and still. As you drift deeper into relaxation, you notice that your cloud is now passing over a beautiful meadow. The grass is soft and green, and it's dotted with colorful flowers of all kinds. You can smell the sweet fragrance of the flowers and feel the soft breeze blowing through your hair. You hear the gentle sound of a stream nearby, and you decide to follow it. You float down to the ground and begin to walk along the stream, feeling the cool water against your feet. You see fish swimming in the stream, and you watch as they dart and play in the water. As you continue to walk, you notice a butterfly flying nearby. It's a beautiful, colorful butterfly with wings that sparkle in the sunlight. You decide to follow the butterfly, and it leads you to a peaceful garden. The garden is filled with beautiful flowers, towering trees, and a gentle fountain in the center. You feel a sense of peace and calm wash over you as you take in the beauty of the garden. You decide to lie down in the soft grass and enjoy the peacefulness of the garden. As you lie there, you feel yourself becoming more and more relaxed. Your body feels heavy and warm, and you feel completely at ease. You take one more deep breath, and as you exhale, you drift along with me to a wonderful and strange world. A magical world with sparkling fairies and powerful crystals. Let's begin. Enjoy. Once upon a time, in a magical and distant kingdom called Glimmerland, everything was different. The houses were made of candy, the trees were upside down, and the flowers could talk. It was a place where anything was possible, and the impossible was always happening. One day, a young orphan named Jack was wandering through the forest, feeling lost and alone. He had been traveling for days, searching for a place where he could belong. Jack had never known his parents and had lived on the streets for as long as he could remember. He had grown tired of the cold and the hunger, and he longed for a place to call home. As he walked, Jack saw a strange light in the distance. He followed it, and soon found himself at the edge of a magical kingdom, unlike any he had ever seen. Glimmerland was a place of wonder and enchantment, where the very air was infused with magic. As Jack wandered through the kingdom, he came across a talking cat named Whiskers. Whiskers had bright green eyes and a sleek black coat that sparkled in the sunshine. He offered to be Jack's guide and show him all the wonders of Glimmerland. "Welcome to Glimmerland, Jack," said Whiskers. "It's a magical place where anything can happen. Come with me and I'll show you all the incredible sights and sounds that this kingdom has to offer." Jack was amazed and delighted by everything he saw. Giant lollipops grew on the candy trees, and chocolate rivers flowed between the hills. The sky was a bright shade of pink, and the clouds were made of cotton candy. Even the birds in Glimmerland sang sweet melodies that filled the air with magic. As they walked, Whiskers told Jack about the Queen of Glimmerland, a wise and powerful woman named Euphoria. She ruled the kingdom with kind and just hands, and everyone loved and respected her. "She has a magical crystal that keeps Glimmerland safe," Whiskers said. "It's the most precious thing in the kingdom, and without it, Glimmerland would be in great danger." Jack was fascinated by the crystal and asked to see it. But Whiskers explained that only the queen was allowed to handle the crystal. It was her most prized possession, and she kept it safe in her castle. As the sun began to set, Jack realized that it was time to leave. He thanked Whiskers for showing him around and promised to come back to Glimmerland soon. Whiskers smiled and wished him a safe journey. But as Jack walked away, he couldn't help but think about the magical kingdom he had just discovered. He knew that there was much more to explore and discover in Glimmerland, and he made a decision to stay. "Whiskers," Jack said, "I've been wandering for so long, and I've never found a place where I belong. But Glimmerland feels like home. May I stay here?" Whiskers purred and rubbed against Jack's leg. "Of course, my friend. Glimmerland welcomes all who seek magic and wonder. You are always welcome here." And so Jack decided to make Glimmerland his home. He would explore every corner of the magical kingdom, make new friends, and discover his own magical powers. Little did he know that his decision would set him on a path of adventure and heroism, one that would lead him to save Glimmerland from great danger and discover the true meaning of family and belonging. As the sun set on his first day in Glimmerland, Jack felt a sense of peace and joy that he had never felt before. He knew that his life would never be the same again. Jack woke up to a new day in Glimmerland. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and everything seemed perfect. He got out of bed and stretched, feeling refreshed and ready for a new adventure. He headed out into the kingdom, eager to explore and discover new wonders. As he walked, he noticed that everything was just as he remembered it. The candy houses were standing tall and proud. The upside-down trees were swaying gently in the breeze, and the talking flowers were chattering away. Jack felt a sense of peace and contentment wash over him. He had made the right decision to stay in Glimmerland, and he was excited to see what the day would bring. But as he wandered through the kingdom, something caught his attention. The candy houses were starting to melt. Their once vibrant colors were running down like tears, and their walls were slumping and dripping. Jack couldn't believe what he was seeing. He had never seen anything like it before. He rushed over to one of the candy houses and touched its walls. They were hot to the touch, and the candy was soft and squishy. He looked around and noticed that everything was melting. The candy houses, the chocolate fairies, even the candy creatures were starting to lose their shape. The upside-down trees were withering away, and the talking flowers had lost their voices. Jack was confused and worried. He had never seen anything like this before. He didn't know what was happening to Glimmerland, but he knew that he had to do something to help. He rushed over to Whiskers, the talking cat who'd become his closest companion in Glimmerland. He explained what he had seen and asked if Whiskers knew what was happening. Whiskers looked concerned. He explained that the magical crystal that kept Glimmerland safe had been stolen. Without the crystal's protection, the kingdom was slowly falling apart. The crystal is the most precious thing in all of Glimmerland, Whiskers said. It's what keeps us safe from harm, but someone has stolen it, and the kingdom is in great danger. Jack knew that he had to find the crystal and bring it back to Glimmerland. He had made a promise to Whiskers that he would do everything in his power to help the kingdom, and he couldn't bear to see it fall apart. But where to start? Jack and Whiskers knew that they needed to gather information, so they began to ask around the kingdom, but no one had any information on the whereabouts of the crystal. As they continued their search, Jack and Whiskers heard rumors of an evil sorcerer named Zephyr. Some said that he had the crystal and was using its power to wreak havoc on the kingdom. Others said that he was a powerful wizard who lived in a castle deep in the heart of Glimmerland. Jack and Whiskers knew that they had to find Zephyr and stop him. They set out on a perilous journey through the kingdom, facing many dangers along the way. They battled giant spiders, crossed treacherous rivers, and climbed mountains so high that the air grew thin. But as they searched, they began to realize that Zephyr was a formidable foe. He had many followers, and they were all fiercely loyal to him. Jack and Whiskers knew that they needed a plan. They retreated to a safe place and began to strategize. They knew that they couldn't take on Zephyr and his minions alone. They needed allies, and they needed a plan of attack. As they talked, Jack realized that he had a special power. He could sense the presence of magic. He closed his eyes and focused, trying to sense the magic of the crystal. At first, he felt nothing. But then he felt a faint trace of magic. It was weak, but it was there. He opened his eyes and told Whiskers what he had sensed. "Whiskers, I think I can sense the magic of the crystal," Jack said. "It's weak, but it's there. If we follow the magic, we might be able to find it." Whiskers nodded. "That's a good plan, Jack. Let's follow the magic and see where it leads us." And so, Jack and Whiskers set out once again, following the faint trail of magic that Jack had sensed. They traveled through the kingdom, following the twists and turns of the magic's path. As they walked, the magic grew stronger. They knew that they were getting closer. And then they saw it. The castle of Zephyr looming in the distance. Jack knew that their journey was far from over. They had found the castle of their enemy, but they still needed to find the crystal and defeat Zephyr. But for the first time in a long time, Jack felt a sense of purpose and hope. He knew that he was on the right path, and he would do everything in his power to save Glimmerland. Jack and Whiskers continued their journey through Glimmerland, searching for any clues that might lead them to Zephyr and the crystal. As they walked, they noticed that the trees around them were starting to look different. The leaves were turning a deep shade of blue, and the air was getting colder. After walking for a while, they came across a clearing in the forest. In the center of the clearing was a large dragon, covered in shimmering blue scales. The dragon was blowing ice from its mouth, freezing everything around it. Jack and Whiskers cautiously approached the dragon, hoping to talk to it. The dragon noticed them and turned its gaze towards them. It seemed to be sizing them up, trying to determine if they were a threat. "Who are you?" the dragon asked in a deep, booming voice. "I'm Jack, and this is my friend Whiskers," Jack replied. "We're on a mission to save Glimmerland. Do you know anything about a crystal that was stolen?" The dragon looked at them for a moment, then spoke again. "I am Frostbite, and I have indeed heard of the crystal. It was taken by a man named Zephyr who wants to use its power for his own selfish purposes." Jack and Whiskers were relieved to hear that they were on the right track. They asked Frostbite if he would join them on their quest to stop Zephyr and retrieve the crystal. Frostbite hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I will help you," he said. "The queen of your kingdom once helped me, and since then I owe her. Let's go get the crystal back and bring the magic back to your kingdom. Just don't forget to give your queen my greetings." "Let's go." Happy and satisfied with the big and menacing dragon next to them, Jack and Mustache continued to walk towards the castle, not knowing what awaits them on this long journey. Jack and Whiskers, along with Frostbite the ice-blowing dragon, arrived at Zephyr's castle to reclaim the crystal. As they approached, they were met by a group of hornets. The hornets were guarding the castle, and they refused to let Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite pass. Jack knew that they needed to find a way to get past the hornets if they were going to have any chance of reclaiming the crystal. He thought back to his days as a farm cat, and he remembered the tricks he used to catch mice. He knew that hornets had a weakness for sweet things, so he decided to use that knowledge to his advantage. He approached the hornet leader and tried to reason with him. "We're not here to cause any trouble," Jack said. "We just need to get into the castle to reclaim something that was stolen from us." The hornet leader was not convinced. "I cannot let you pass," he said. "You are not authorized to enter the castle." Jack knew that he had to think fast. He remembered the sweet nectar that the flowers in the enchanted forest produced. He knew that if he could get some of that nectar, he could use it to trick the hornets into letting them pass. He turned to Whiskers and Frostbite. "Can you two go into the forest and get some of that sweet nectar from the flowers?" he asked. Whiskers and Frostbite nodded and quickly made their way into the forest. They returned with a small jar of the sweet nectar, which Jack used to make a deal with the hornet leader. "If I give you this jar of sweet nectar, will you let us pass?" Jack asked. The hornet leader hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Very well," he said. "But if you cause any trouble, I will not hesitate to call for backup." Jack handed over the jar of nectar, and the hornet leader allowed them to pass. Jack knew that he had used his knowledge of the hornet's weakness to outsmart the leader and gain entry into the castle. Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite stood before the towering walls of Zephyr's castle. It was an imposing structure, made of dark stone and looming ominously against the sky. Jack couldn't help but feel a shiver run down his spine as he gazed upon it. "Are you sure we should be doing this?" he asked Whiskers and Frostbite. Whiskers nodded resolutely. "We have to. If we don't stop Zephyr, who knows what he'll do with the crystal?" Frostbite added, "We can't let him use the crystal for his own nefarious purposes. We have to get it back." Jack took a deep breath and steeled himself for what lay ahead. He knew that Zephyr was a powerful wizard, and that he would have to be careful if they were going to succeed. As they approached the castle gates, they were met by a pair of towering stone golems. The golems loomed over them, their eyes glowing red with malevolent energy. "We come in peace," Jack said, holding up his paws in a gesture of surrender. But the golems did not move. Whiskers took a step forward, her claws extended. "Let us through. We have business with Zephyr." The golems remained motionless. Frostbite stepped forward next and blew a stream of freezing air towards the golems. The air crystallized around them, coating them in a layer of ice. And Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite entered the castle. The interior of the castle was just as imposing as the exterior. The walls were made of dark stone, and torches flickered on the walls, casting eerie shadows on the floor. As they made their way deeper into the castle, they encountered all manner of strange and wondrous creatures. There were goblins scurrying through the shadows, their eyes gleaming with avarice. There were trolls, their massive bodies blocking the narrow passages. And there were werewolves, their eyes flashing. Despite the danger that surrounded them, Jack couldn't help but be fascinated by the creatures they encountered. He had never seen anything like them before, and he couldn't help but marvel at their strangeness. As they made their way through the castle, they encountered more and more creatures. Some of them were hostile, attacking them on sight. Others simply watched them with curious eyes, as if trying to determine whether they were friend or foe. Through it all, Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite remained focused on their goal. They were searching for Zephyr, and they knew that he was the key to retrieving the crystal. Finally, they found themselves standing before a massive set of double doors. The doors were made of solid gold, and they were engraved with intricate patterns of swirling magic. "This must be it," Jack said, his heart pounding in his chest. Whiskers nodded. "Let's do this," she said. Frostbite took a deep breath and blew a stream of freezing air towards the doors. The air crystallized and the doors shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. They stepped through the shattered doors and found themselves standing in a grand hall. The walls were lined with tapestries, and chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the room. At the far end of the hall, they could see a figure standing on a dais. It was Zephyr, his wand held aloft, his eyes blazing with magical energy. "You've come a long way," Zephyr said, his voice echoing through the hall. "But you'll never defeat me." Zephyr began to cast his spells, and Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite prepared to fight for their lives. But before they could reach him, they were met by a horde of creatures that surrounded and guarded Zephyr. Goblins leaped at them, their sharp claws glinting in the dim light. Trolls swung massive clubs, forcing to dodge and weave to avoid being hit. Werewolves charged at them, their growls echoing through the hall. Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite fought back with all their might, but the creatures kept coming at them from all sides. They split up, each taking on a different group of creatures. Whiskers darted around the goblins, using her speed and agility to strike at them. Frostbite blew freezing air at the trolls, causing them to slow down. Jack used his claws to strike at the werewolves, trying to avoid their attacks. Zephyr himself then entered the fray, his wand blazing with magical energy. Jack and Frostbite braced themselves as he cast a barrage of spells. The air crackled with electricity as Zephyr summoned bolts of lightning that streaked towards them, but the trio was quick on their feet and managed to evade his attacks. Whiskers darted left and right, using her speed and agility to avoid the lightning strikes. Jack used his knowledge of the elements to anticipate Zephyr's attacks, predicting where the next bolt of lightning would strike and dodging it with ease. Frostbite blew a stream of freezing air towards Zephyr, hoping to slow him down. But Zephyr was relentless. He cast a spell that sent a wall of fire hurtling towards them. Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite scrambled to find cover, but the flames licked at their fur and singed their whiskers. "We need a plan," Jack shouted over the roar of the flames. Whiskers nodded. "I'll distract him," she said. "You two attack from behind." Whiskers darted towards Zephyr, her claws extended. Zephyr turned to face her, but as he did, Jack and Frostbite closed in from behind. Jack used his claws to strike at Zephyr's wand, while Frostbite blew freezing air towards his face. Zephyr stumbled backwards, his wand clattering to the ground. The trio pressed their advantage, striking at him with everything they had. But Zephyr was not so easily defeated. He summoned a gust of wind that sent them flying backwards. Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite picked themselves up, exchanging glances. They knew that they had to keep fighting, that they could not let Zephyr win. They charged towards him again, determined to take him down once and for all. Zephyr raised his wand, ready to cast another spell. But before he could, Whiskers lunged forward, his claws extended. He struck at Zephyr's wand, shattering it into 100 pieces. Zephyr fell to his knees, panting and defeated. "You have bested me," he said. "I surrender." Jack approached Zephyr cautiously. They knew that he was a powerful wizard, and they didn't want to let their guard down. As they held the crystal, Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite knew that they had succeeded with their brains and their bravery. They had saved Glimmerland, and they felt a deep sense of satisfaction and joy. As Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite made their way out of the castle with the crystal in their possession, they found themselves lost in the vast desert. They were hot, tired, and thirsty, and they were starting to wonder if they would ever find their way out. Just when they were about to give up hope, they heard a beautiful singing voice. The voice belonged to a mermaid who was lounging on a rock near a sparkling pool of water. The mermaid had shimmering scales that glinted in the sun, and her hair was the color of sand. She smiled at them, and they felt a strange pull towards her. "Come closer," she sang. "I won't hurt you." Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite were hesitant, but they felt drawn towards the mermaid. As they approached the water, they felt a sudden current that pulled them under. They were disoriented and struggling for air, but the mermaid used her voice to calm the water and bring them to the surface. It was then that she saw the crystal fall from Jack's pocket. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her eyes wide with surprise. Jack explained that they had retrieved the crystal from Zephyr, and they were on a mission to return it to its rightful owner. The mermaid's expression softened, and she explained that the crystal belonged to a good friend of hers, the queen of their kingdom. She told them that she and the queen had been friends for many years, and that she would do anything to help them return the crystal. With her guidance, the three were able to navigate the treacherous desert and make their way to the queen's kingdom. With renewed energy and determination, Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite continued on their journey. They would never forget the beauty and danger of the desert mermaid, and they were grateful for her help in returning the crystal to its rightful owner. When the three approached the kingdom, they noticed something strange happening. The crystal in Jack's pocket began to glow, and a wave of magic swept over the land. Suddenly, everything around them began to come to life. The flowers in the fields bloomed in vibrant colors, and the trees rustled with new leaves. A chocolate stream that flowed through the center of the kingdom began to bubble and froth, and they noticed that instead of fish, it was now filled with marshmallows. As they walked through the kingdom, they noticed other magical and strange things happening. A group of fairies fluttered past them, leaving a trail of sparkling fairy dust in their wake. A group of talking animals gathered around a clearing, chatting and laughing amongst themselves. In the distance, they heard the sound of music. They followed the sound until they came to a clearing where a group of musicians were playing strange and beautiful instruments. The music was unlike anything they had ever heard before, and they felt their spirits lifted by its beauty. As they continued through the kingdom, they encountered more strange and wonderful things. They saw a group of unicorns grazing in a meadow, their manes and tails shimmering in the sunlight. They saw a field filled with fireflies, their wings glowing with a soft golden light. It was clear that the crystal was having a profound effect on the kingdom. Everywhere they looked, they saw the magic and beauty of the land being restored. As they approached the queen's castle, they were greeted by a group of friendly gnomes. The gnomes led them to a grand hall where the queen was waiting for them. The queen was overjoyed to see the crystal return to its rightful place. She explained that the crystal was the source of all the magic in the kingdom, and that without it, the land had been slowly fading away. Now that the crystal had been returned, the magic had been restored. The kingdom was alive with color, music, and wonder, and the queen was grateful to Jack, Whiskers, and Frostbite for their help. As a token of her gratitude, the queen offered them a place to rest and recuperate. She also gave them a magical map that would guide them on their journey, pointing out places of interest and hidden dangers. The queen was so happy to see the Frostbite after many years of not seeing each other, and thanked him for helping to bring back the light and magic to the kingdom. For Jake, she brought a house made of chocolate just for him. On the roof of the house is a colorful ice cream ball that never ends. And in the garden grew lollipops in all the flavors that exist in the world. And she appointed Whiskers as the keeper of the crystal in his own right, a position that gave him happiness, respect, and love from all. And so all the people of the kingdom of Glimmerland lived happily ever after with the new tenant Jack, who was determined to protect them and the kingdom that became his home. And now, friends, it's time to close your eyes and sink into a pleasant and magical sleep and travel in the well of dreams. Good night, everyone. I'm Larry, and I too will go to a pleasant sleep that will give me strength for a new and wonderful day tomorrow.